Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be looking at Stalker the Reborn and Anomalous Activities. Now, Stalker the Reborn is a game that I've made previous videos on, and I deem it as one of the best games ever made because it's so well made, and even though it's still old, it still has things that makes it very unique towards all the new crappy games nowadays. Anomalous Activities was recommended to me by a few of you guys. Now, even though I haven't played the game that much, I can say that it's definitely a good and uprising game. However, there are something in the game that do not make it stand out as much. However, it's still a decently done game. So, pretty much what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to be comparing Stalker Reborn and Anomalous Activities and seeing which one is better out of the two. So, let's get started. Okay guys, so we're going to be starting with Stalker the Reborn. So Stalker the Reborn is a game made in 2007 when Roblox was first beginning to take off. It is pretty much a lot like Anomalous Activities, where it's pretty much you have a group of survivors or combat soldiers who then try and kill the Stalker. The Stalker has a variety of abilities, and the Stalker tries to win by killing all of you. And if you're playing a combat soldier, you win by killing the Stalker. So the thing about Stalker the Reborn is that with my experience in playing the game and me just playing the game for a very long time, it does a few things right as a very good game. It's very fair on both sides. It might be hard to win as Stalker if you play him like new, like your first time playing, so you might lose a couple of times, but playing as a Stalker is like, it's really fun. Like, you're fast, you feel powerful, but you can't just run in and just like win everything, because playing the Stalker is actually pretty difficult because you have to have living abilities. If they've got certain classes, it's kind of hard for you to get behind them. But overall, the Stalker has a variety of abilities that helps him win a lot of matches. Now, with the Combine Soldiers, they have things called upgrades and weapons. Some weapons are obviously a lot better than others because the fire rate or gun rate in this game, it's a bit old, which means that some of the guns are very inaccurate. So some guns are better, some guns are worse, but you can use every gun effectively if you know how to play the game. They have upgrades as well, which give them buffs and debuffs, nothing too overpowered. Besides maybe the Engineer, that's the final class in the game, that's probably the last one you'll be using, so it makes sense why it will be given to the most experienced players. Along with the weapons and upgrades, they also have melee weapons. Melee weapons are really good, however some are hard to use because they're like, some do a lot more damage, some have more range. With the Stalker, however, he has power-ups with like different abilities, which gives him a lot of uniqueness and makes him a lot more better than a lot of other games, because sometimes some games just give them one specific moveset and never update it. This game off the bat gives you many abilities that isn't unlocked. So the one thing about this game that's really good is that it's very beginner friendly to people. Now, beginner friendly means like it's very friendly to beginners. As the combat soldiers, you have the basic gear, but you can still win with that gear. Now, if you play the Stalker only has 3 abilities unlocked: Scream, War Grip, and I forgot what the other one is. Scream is a really good ability, probably the best ability in the game for a starter. And War Grip is okay. I'm not quite sure about the other one because I think it's a good starter one as well. But that's the thing about Stalker the Reborn, is that it's very friendly to you. You can easily win with the Stalker, you can easily win with the Command Soldier if you just learn how to play the game properly. But that is all about this. That is my opinion on Stalker the Reborn. That's why I think it's definitely a very good game to play. So now we're moving on to Anomalous Activities.
Fresh meat.
Moving on, we now have Anomalous Activities. So Anomalous Activities takes a lot of inspiration from Stalker the Reborn, having the subject, which is basically the Stalker, having unique abilities, and I'm pretty sure you just play as normal soldiers or you play as teams. Now, this game is a lot more polished and refreshed because it's got a few things that Stalker the Reborn doesn't have. It's got utility like sentries, heals, etc. It also has different weapon modules that you can use. There's like a paintball gun, which makes the subject easier to see. You also have certain guns that do a lot more damage, however, they have a lot more of a recoil. There's also things called teams, which basically you're set with 3 other players. With those 3 other players, you can hunt the Stalker down with them. You can also talk to them, but that's pretty much the length of the teams go in this game. You also have grenades, emergency flares, and a lot more util in this game. For the subject side, there are about, I think, 8 mutations. The mutations are a bit interesting because I don't know if the mutations are a good thing in this game or a bad thing. We'll get into that later when I'm comparing both of them. Along with this, other unique aspects is that there are something called like a rank up system where you can rank up, you can buy different melee weapons for the subject. You can also buy different type of costumes for the alpha teams or teams, whatever they're named of. But one of the main issues of the game is that unlike the Stalker Reborn, which is beginner friendly, Anomalous Activities is very unfriendly. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, when I first started to play the game, the thing about Stalker Reborn is that it gives you a set amount of items that you can use and you can't use, since you have to buy different items. In Anomalous Activities, however, you have everything unlocked. Now you might be saying, that's a good thing. However, it also leaves a lot of things up to interpretation. You do not know what's good. Some guns in this game I have found to be very unreliable, very bad. Some of the mutations are very bad, very good. Even though it gives detailed descriptions about it, it's hard to play the game when you don't really know what is what. And that's the main issue I have with it. It's a very good game that's a lot more polished than Stalker Reborn. However, the main problem with it is that it's just so hard to understand what everything does. Since there are 8 mutations, right, there are 8 different things you can play. There are also things called terrors of the subject, which are like different mutations of the subject, making them a lot more stronger. However, you cannot use them in certain scenarios, which you do not know. Another thing that the subject can do is that even though they're a lot like the other Stalker, they're invisible, very fast, they're very weak. I mean extremely. You could possibly die to anything in the game. Grenades, sentries, you can die very easily. Now, because of this, the subject is very hard to play as well. Playing as the soldiers, you can win by other players being able to carry you, but if you want to get used to playing the subject, it's going to be very hard to do that. Now, playing the subject is a lot more funner, however, the one thing I do not understand is that most of the mutations are very bad if you do not play them consistently and very well. Now, some of the mutations are very good, some of them are very bad. But the problem is that like everything's been unlocked for you, so you don't know what is good, what is bad. So the game isn't very friendly because you don't know what's good and what isn't. I see you. So now we're going to be moving on to the comparison section. So first let's start with the soldiers. In Stalker Reborn you play Unit 8, which is a squad of soldiers who have upgrades, guns, and nothing else. That's all they have. However, there are upgrades which I've already discussed about talking about the Stalker independently. Now, reason why I think this is probably the best out of both of them is because playing the Unit 8 soldiers, you always spawn together, in a group always. There's no chance you will ever spawn by yourself. Now, if we look at Anomalous Activities, I have had multiple occasions where I spawn by myself, and I will die instantly against the Stalker, or subject. This is because the subject is really good against a 1v1s, however in groups he's very hard to kill people on. So when you spawn by yourself, you should just hopefully you find someone nearby, if not you will die instantly. You cannot get out of that situation alive. Continuing on with Stalker the Reborn, along with having everyone around you, you will always have a little intermission stage where everyone will get ready, everyone will be able to connect. Anomalous Activities, it's kind of the same thing, but not really. Because in Stalker the Reborn, right, when you spawn a Unit 8 soldier, you're given controls on the full screen, right, which then like gives you the basic layout of the game. Anomalous Activities does not do that, it just goes black and puts you straight into the game. Now, when we're talking about something called beginner friendliness, which I've already explained in both independent sections, but having that list of controls given to you instantly when you load into a match is really good, because to new players that gives them a rundown of what everything does. If you do not give that when you're loading into something, you remove that comfort of the game, or like you remove that comfort of the players being able to learn fast. Now, moving on to the Stalker or subject. The subject, depending on what your mutation is. Now, a mutation is basically a different variation of the subject. Now, some mutations are really good, some are really bad. However, the Stalker has like little abilities. Now, the reason why the Stalker only having abilities, right, and not changing them at all is a lot better than having mutations is because having abilities, it makes them a lot more unique. Like, you can do different type of playsets. You can do decoys, rage, and regeneration. You can do scream, decoys, paralysis. You can do all these different type of combinations. With these subjects, you can only do mutations. Like, you can only do one set of mutation and you can't change it. No matter what you do, you cannot change it. That's the main issue playing with the subjects, like he's very basic. However, all these mutations do their own unique things. Then again, since it changes up the subject so much, you're playing essentially a new character. You're playing essentially someone new. Because they do not have, again, so as I said before, they have that little control section, right? Because they do not have that system for the subject, or playing as a regular soldier in Anomalous Activities, it again removes that comfort and you do not know what you're playing. Because if you want, and again, you obviously want to play the subject, but if you do not get told at the start of the game what that guy does explicitly or detailed enough where you can understand what he does, then it kind of removes that fun factor out of playing him, because that means you have to learn him again and again and again with every new mutation. And now, I will understand that even though you can choose mutate, it tells on the side what it does. They should regardless have some type of in-game mechanic telling you what their subject does. Bottom of the screen, corner of the screen, even on top of the screen would help you so much, because then it reminds you what you do. Some mutations don't allow you to attack. Some do allow you to attack. Some rely on one mechanic. Some rely on separating the soldiers. Because the mutations change the guys so much, you have to constantly relearn and replay the character. Now, which is better of these two? Overall, I think that Stalker the Reborn is a lot more fleshed out and a lot more simpler to learn. However, Anomalous Activities is a lot more unique and polished, but the difference between both of them is that the Stalker Reborn is a lot more beginner friendly. Now that is where I'm going to give Stalker the Reborn the win in this case. Comparing the fun factor of both games, Stalker the Reborn I had tons more fun in when I started, because I understood what to do, I understood what everything did. Anomalous Activities on the other hand, it took me hours, days to understand how to properly play people, and how to properly play this. Even now, I do not know how to properly play the subject. That is an issue. If you're gonna get new players, you want to make everything simple, and then you want to start making things complicated and more complicated. But that's pretty much all I have to say about these two games. That is the comparison section. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my yapping about both these games. And yeah.